Hello everyone. Welcome to the second video for Unit 8. In this video, we're going to learn about the important grammar in Unit 8. So let's get started. Today, let's learn how to use the present perfect tense for experience and achievements, and learn about reflexive and indefinite pronouns. We're going to begin today by learning a bit more about the present perfect tense. You may remember learning about it in the previous unit. This week, we are going to focus on using present perfect to talk about our experience and achievements. Let's talk about how to use the present perfect tense for experience and achievements. We're going to talk about how to use the present perfect tense in this specific way. So let's begin by reviewing the present perfect tense. What is the present perfect tense? The present perfect tense is formed from the present tense of the verb have, so we use have or has depending on the subject, and something called the past participle of the verb. For example, we can say, I have changed. She has read the book. Here we see we have our verb have, I have, or she has, and then the past participle form of the next verb. I have changed, she has read. So when can we use present perfect tense? Well, there are a few different ways. We can use present perfect for something that started in the past and continues in the present. So started in the past and continues today. I have lived in Korea for 7 years. So it started in the past and it continues today. I still live in Korea. We can use the present perfect for something that happened in the past but is important now in the present. I can't study because I have lost my book. So this happened in the past, but it's important to what's happening right now. I can't study because I have lost my book. We can also use the present perfect when we're talking about our experience up to the current time, up to the present. I've seen that film. I have seen that film. This is what we're going to focus on today. Let's learn how to use the present perfect to talk about our experience and our achievements. Let's begin by looking at what these two words mean. What is an experience and what is an achievement? Today, when we are looking at an experience, we're going to focus on work experience. So this means work that you have done in the past, any experience you have working. So this means from the past until now, your experience. How about the word achievement? An achievement is something you accomplish, like a big goal. So we can also use present perfect to talk about your achievements, things that you have done that you feel proud of. This is how we can form sentences using the present perfect tense. So we start with our subject, I, you, we, they, he, she, it, or someone's name. Have or has, depending on the subject. Remember that for he, she, and it, we use has. Then we have our past participle. So sometimes the past participle looks like normal past tense, but we have some different forms in here as well, like studied, worked, won, been, and managed. And then we have the rest of our sentence. So let's look at these sentences where we are using present perfect to talk about experience. Number 1, I have studied at university. This is experience, and it is relevant to work, right? I have studied at university. You could also say what you have studied. I have studied English at university. Number 2, you have worked for 5 years. So we can use have worked to talk about how long as well. You have worked for 5 years. How about an achievement? We have won a competition. This is something you might use in an interview, for example, to talk about your accomplishment or your achievement related to the work or job you're applying for. Number 4, they have been to the conference. And number 5, he has managed or she has managed 10 people. So these are all examples of sentences and also past participles we can use when talking about experience using the present perfect tense. We can also add not or never to make the sentence negative. So let's see what that would look like. Here we have our same sentences, but now we have added not and never. I have not studied at university. Or again, you can add the subject. I have not studied English at university. You have not worked for 5 years. We have never won a competition. They have not been to the conference, and he or she has never managed 10 people. So notice that not and never go in the same place in these sentences when we're using present perfect tense. I have not, I have never. How would we ask a question using the present perfect tense, particularly about experience and achievements? Well, all we have to do, like at many points in English, is take our subject and the first verb and switch them around. So instead of I have studied, it's have you studied at university? Instead of you have worked for 5 years, it becomes have you worked for 5 years? Have we won a competition? Have they been to the conference? Has he or she managed people? So just like we see in other verb tense forms, all we have to do is take our subject and our first verb and switch them around. We can also add the word ever in a question. We can only add ever in a question, not in our answers. Very important. To ask if something has happened at any time. So if I asked question number 3, for example, have we won the competition? Maybe I'm asking about now. Have we won? Have we won the competition? Have we won a competition? But if I add the word ever, this means at any time, any time. Have we ever won a competition? Let's try to answer some present perfect questions about experience and achievements that use the word ever. So we're going to look at 3 examples and see the different ways we could answer these kinds of questions. Number 1, have you ever worked in an English-speaking environment? Notice where the word ever is. It's between our subject, you, and our past participle worked. Have you ever worked? This is true in all present perfect questions. We put that word ever, which means at any time between our subject and past participle, and only in questions. We cannot say I have ever. No, 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 no. We only use ever in questions. Number 2, have you ever won an award for your work? And number 3, have you gotten a scholarship before? So in number 3, we see this word before. This also means at any time before now. It has the same meaning as ever. It's just a different way that we can ask the question. We could say, have you ever gotten a scholarship? Or have you gotten a scholarship before? So these are all questions about work, experience, and achievements. Let's take a look at how we would answer these questions. Let's take a look at number 1. Have you ever worked in an English-speaking environment? Well, we could simply answer with yes or no, right? Yes, I have. No, I haven't. And if we want to answer with never, right? Have you ever? I have never worked in an English-speaking environment. So these are the 3 main ways we can answer a question like, have you ever? Yes, I have. And then you could explain your experience. Yes, I have. I worked in Samsung and we spoke English with our clients and so on. No, I haven't. Or no, I have never. Remember, ever means at any time. So never means at no time. At no time, I have never worked in an English-speaking environment. Number 2, have you ever won an award for your work? Let's look at how we answered number 1. Can you try to answer number 2 in these 3 ways? We could say, yes, I have. No, I haven't. Or no, I have never. I have never won an award for my work. So again, these are the 3 simple ways we can answer this question. We can always add more detail after. Have you ever won an award for your work? Yes, I have. I won a teaching award in 2016. Like this. Last, let's take a look at number 3. Have you gotten a scholarship before? So even though we aren't using the word ever here, we are still asking about before, any time until or before now. So we would answer in the same way. Yes, I have. No, I haven't. Or no, I have never gotten a scholarship. So notice also in our answers. So let's take a look again at wherever comes. It comes between the subject and the past participle. It's the same in our answer. The word never comes between subject and have and our past participle. I have never worked. This is very, very important for us to remember. So let's go ahead and look at what we should remember most from this slide. We always use the affirmative verb, I have never, when we're using the word never. So we would not say, I have not never, right? That's in English called a double negative. Not never, that means I have. So make sure to use I have never if you're answering with never. So what are your experiences and achievements? And how could you talk about them using the present perfect tense? Now let's learn about reflexive and indefinite pronouns. Before we talk about these 2 different kinds of pronouns, let's answer this question. What is a pronoun? Well, there are many different kinds of pronouns in English, but a simple way to define and think about a pronoun is that it's a word used instead of a noun or noun phrase. For example, if you were talking to me, you probably wouldn't say Sarah, 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 Sarah. You might use the pronoun you, for example. Or if you're talking about another person, you might not say their name again and again, but use things like he and she. So today we're going to look at reflexive and indefinite pronouns. First, let's look at reflexive pronouns. These are words that end in self or selves that are used when the subject and object of a sentence are the same. Remember, English sentences are SVO, right? Subject, verb, object. When the subject and object are the same, we can use reflexive pronouns, words that end in self and selves. So in our example, we see, I believe in myself. I would not say I believe in me. I believe in myself. Here, the subject, I, and the object, myself, are the same. Here, I am talking about myself. So, I believe in myself. Let's learn the different reflexive pronouns in English. Today, we're going to look at 8 reflexive pronouns for the subjects I, you, we, they, he, she, and it. So let's take a look and see what they are. Like we saw in our example, the reflexive pronoun for I is myself. I believe in myself. Here, the subject, the pronoun, I, is the same as the object. I'm talking about me, so I believe in myself. Next, let's look at you. So there are 2 kinds of you. There's first the singular, meaning one, you. So if I am talking about just one person, we would use yourself. You can help yourself in this class by studying, right? You and the object, yourself. Now, what if we are talking about you, but we're talking about many people? Like if you're talking to a room full of people, you, all. Here we would use yourselves. For example, in class, you might hear, you can talk amongst yourselves. Because you, the plural many you, is the subject and it's the same as our object, yourselves. Notice that when we are talking about many, we use selves, and if we're talking about one, we use self. So next we see we. Here we would want to use selves, right? We is more than one, and we would use ourselves. They, we would use themselves. So these are our plural forms. Yourselves, ourselves, themselves. Next we have he, she, and it. Now these are all single, right? He is one, she is one, it is one. So himself, herself, and itself. Let's go ahead and see how we can use these in some sentences in English. Let's get some practice. Here we have 5 sentences. Let's see which reflexive pronoun we should use in each of these sentences. Number 1, Anna taught blank how to make a computer. So here Anna is my subject. And Anna is one person, so we know it's a word that ends in self, right? Anna is a girl, so we would use herself. She taught herself how to make a computer. Number 2, her computer can turn blank off. Here our subject is her computer. It's one thing, so we're going to use something with self. And her computer is just a thing, so we would say itself. Her computer can turn itself off. It, itself. Number 3, Anna made the computer blank. So here our subject again is Anna. She made the computer herself. Number 4, her computers can fix blank. So here it's plural, so we're going to use something with selves. And we can't say itselves, more than one. We would say themselves. Her computers can fix themselves. And number 5, if we believe in blank, we can achieve anything. So here our subject is we. So what would we use here? Should our word end in self or selves? It should end in selves because we is more than one, right? If we believe in ourselves, we can achieve anything. So notice how the subject tells us which reflexive pronoun to use. Our subject and object are matching. Let's look at some questions with reflexive pronouns to see how we could ask a question with reflexive pronouns and how we could answer. Have you taught yourself a skill? What? How do you reward yourself when you've done something good? And where do you imagine yourself 10 years from now? Notice that in each of these questions, our subject is you, and our reflexive pronoun is yourself. You, yourself. Since you will be answering, you'll use I and myself. So let's look at number 1. Have you taught yourself a skill? I taught myself to swim. Number 2. How do you reward yourself when you've done something good? I reward myself with a nap. So maybe I do something good, do some good work, and then, reward, take a nap. And number 3, where do you imagine yourself 10 years from now? I imagine myself having a PhD and living in Seoul. So notice, of course, just like all other grammar points in English, that our subject and reflexive pronoun, they change depending on who's talking. Have you taught yourself? I taught myself. She taught herself. He taught himself, and so on. Okay? Next, let's take a look at our second kind of pronoun, indefinite pronouns. So what are those? These are pronouns that do not refer to any person, amount, or thing in particular. These are words you have definitely seen before and maybe just have not known the name for. So these are called indefinite pronouns. These are words like something and anywhere. We can use indefinite pronouns to talk about people, things, and places. And remember, these are words used to talk about things that are not specific. So for example, if we're talking about people, we could say someone or somebody, everyone or everybody, no one or nobody, and anyone or anybody. So we have 4 different starters to our words, right? Some, every, no, and any. We can also apply these to things and places, but first let's look at what these mean. If I'm talking about someone, this means a person, right? Maybe one, someone, somebody, just one thing. Everyone, all, right? Every, all. No one, nobody means 0. And anyone or anybody means I'm asking about, usually we see anyone in a question. Has anyone seen my phone? Any person, even one. We don't know the amount, right? It's not every or no or some. It's any amount. So let's take a look at how we could use indefinite pronouns with things and places. So first we see with people, someone. With things, we want to end our word, our indefinite pronoun with, you guessed it, thing, something. Do you want something to eat? We can use everything, anything, and how about no? Nothing, right? So we have our same words to start. Something, everything, nothing, anything. It's the same with places. Somewhere, everywhere, nowhere, and anywhere. So with people, we can end with one or body. With things, we can end with thing, right? Easy to remember. And with places, we can end with where. Let's go ahead and get some practice with indefinite pronouns. Let's see if we can figure out which one to use. Number 1, she is, I admire. Okay, here we're talking about a person, so we want our word to, our indefinite pronoun to end with one or body. Okay, how many people are we talking about? Just she, right? So would we say she is everyone? She is no one? She is anyone? No. We're talking about one person here. She is someone I admire. You could also say she is somebody I admire. Both are correct. Number 2, did blank come to your party last night? So if we're talking about coming to a party, who can come to a party? A person, right? So here we're asking, did any amount of people come to your party? So we could say, did anyone come? Or did anybody come? Okay, number 3, I don't want to go blank. I just want to stay home. Okay, so we're looking at going, so we know it's a place, which means we use what? Would we use one, thing, or where for place? We would use where. Here, I don't want to go blank. I just want to stay home. So I don't want to go to any other place. No other place. I don't want to go anywhere. I just want to stay home. Number 4, would you like blank to eat? Well, definitely not a person and definitely not a place. So we're talking about things, right? We're talking about food. Would you like blank to eat? Well, I would not say nothing or everything. Here, would you like something to eat? You could also say, would you like anything to eat? This is also correct. Something or anything could work here. And last, number 5, blank should have the textbook for this class. So here I'm trying to say all people, so everyone. Let's put it together. So finally, let's look at these sentences that have both reflexive and indefinite pronouns so we can see how they work together. Number 1, I think everyone should learn how to cook. I taught myself how to cook when I was a child. Number 2, can you help me with something? My friend locked herself in her car. And number 3, we helped ourselves to all of the food because nobody else came to the party. So there are many different ways we can use these indefinite and reflexive pronouns together. They're very common in English and very helpful to know how to use. Okay, everyone, that is it for our grammar video for Unit 8. So remember these grammar points, talking about experience and achievements using present perfect, indefinite pronouns, and reflexive pronouns. We're going to use these in class, in our conversations, and talk about our work experience and so on. So that is it for today. Please check eClass for assignments, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.